Hi, this is Anna Choi with Energy TV, and today I just wanted to share about the Wisdom 2.0 conference in 2021 that I went to last week in the beginning of April, and extraordinary lineup of speakers from Wisdom 2.0 is the intersection of tech and mindfulness, and I would say social justice, although they wouldn't say it that way. There was like the founder of the Me Too movement, Tamara Burke, from to Tony Fadell, who is the CEO of Nest, or also the co-creator for the iPhone and the creator of the iPod. There's Tristan Harris, which is he's a co-founder of the Center for Humane Technology and created the documentary The Social Dilemma, which you've heard me talk about a lot. Also, the Pete Docter, who is the CCO, Chief Creative Officer at Pixar. So he did recently Soul, he's done Monsters Inc., Inside Out, those movies. And Ariana Huffington, CEO of Thrive Global. John Kabat-Zinn, he's like the father of mindfulness, who made that a mainstream word that's in corporate America and everywhere today. So just that's just a sprinkling of everyone who came, but such a wonderful intersection of thought leadership from so many different sectors. It was my people. So at any rate, just wanted to give you my key takeaways that I got from the conference, because this was a year after the pandemic started, and so a couple key highlights for me. Shocked that Pete Docter, who has now just recently won another Oscar for Best Animation Film of the Year and has won many more before that, maybe I think 2 more at least, if not more, was sharing how he comes home. And after by every measure, right, from the box office to revenue to reputation to being well received by the public, all of his movies have done really, really well as an animator. It's like an animator's dream. And yet even he comes home and is like, is this it? Like, I did it. Like, he's, really pinnacled, in his game, in his career. And it can get so boring, or just like, okay, now what, right? And I found that surprising, because I feel like there's always some misalignment that you could blame or use to justify why you're not quite there yet, right? But he literally has it all, and still is left with that longing. Tony Fadell, he's, I'm sure, in the billions. So with all his money, he was saying that in general, that the business world, is he funded in the Impossible Burger. He funds all of these social impact ventures that we don't even know about right now, that are going to be likely very, very mainstream. So he invested in Impossible Burger, like, I want to say a decade ago, like many years ago. And he's investing in some of the latest technology of, okay, I'm going to take some look at my notes here so I can make sure not to miss anything. But I found it fascinating that this guy who created the freaking iPhone turns off all his notifications, turns all his tech off all the time, because it gets way too overwhelming. And pre-pandemic, he was able to take like a day off, but that's like impossible now. So he's basically constantly working, and there's no way he can get to the cajillions of notifications and texts and emails that he does. I mean, still the CEO of Nest. So, which, if you don't know what that is, that's like a smart house. It's a device, it's a hardware that you install and knows and customizes temperature and everything about your house. Okay, that was a very brash, fast way to explain that. Anyway, so Tony Fadell, he was talking about, I found it fascinating that he turns everything off. But he was talking about his future ideas and where he's investing in. And as I was saying earlier, besides, they look at the biggest social impact that can be made. And he's like, we need a big mindset shift from circular thinking to being able to think holistically. And the more that I can impact each entrepreneur, who will then give back and impact that many more, is the biggest way that he can really make that impact. So he's already invested in things these are up and coming things, right? Cancer vaccines, next gen batteries that use that are green, they're electrified. He's like, if we can solve that problem, that'll have huge implications of like way better battery power. Plastics, no one is saying that gas is better these days, and if we can substitute the right, biodegradable plastics basically, and then also creating democratized technology tools to help small rural farms and communities be able to organize themselves in before big strip malls come in, clear the land and clear all the local economy out, like that. So those are some things that he is investing into, and he just kept saying, we just have 10,000, even 10,000 of the brightest minds. They can really think from this holistic picture, what I would call the quadruple bottom line of people, planet, profit, and presence all at once. That's better. And we talked about how, do people care still? Are they just about solely the profits? And essentially he said, yes, people invest in the Impossible Burger, other things because of the money opportunity, not because they actually care about the environment necessarily. There's been maybe a little shift, but not so much in his world of billionaires and so forth and investors. So that was interesting and sad, but at the same time, he's like, we need all the players. It doesn't really matter why they come at this point, because we can use that funding that's much needed for these causes. So anyway, kind of an interesting moral dilemma, or maybe not, and how when he lived in Bali, and I went there as well, and I found this, they have such a good holistic view of honoring the dark and the light. We're such a happy only kind of country, especially in America, but when they have a whole it's called Niepi, and it's where they shut down the entire island, no electricity, it goes dark, and they actually honor the darkness. There's no TV, everything's shut down. You can't even go in the streets, you must stay at home. And what a perfect meditation, right? But days leading up to that, they'll celebrate with these huge kind of demagogue parades and floats honoring the darkness as well, because we're not going to get rid of one. It's a harmony. The game is harmony, not extricating one side or the other, not extricating the dark or the light. We need to come holistically, and that's the 10,000 entrepreneurs tipping point that he's talking about, as far as thinking in that way as a whole, playing with all the players. And for me, that looks like in social justice, talking to the other side about racism, talking to the other side about politics, whatever that thing may be, because we need to work together. It's not going to happen alone. It's not going to happen with half the population. We need to harmonize and come from harmony, which is a lot of the Eastern philosophy that I use in my day-to-day and in business. You can't, in the yin and the yang, you can't just cut out. We have a very yang culture, but you can't just make that bad. Oh, the hustle and grind sucks, or the hustle and grind is awesome. You need both sides. You need to go, and then rest and digest and reflect, and we just are really out of balance. But again, it's coming from that holistic view. So that was the gist of that talk. That was one 20-minute talk. Maybe it was an hour, but another huge one that I found about as a resource is Pandemic of Love. Oh, I love Shelly Tagilsky. Sorry if I butchered her last name, but she's an extraordinary woman, a mindfulness teacher and more. But during the pandemic, she created 2 Google Forms essentially, and we had Ariana Huffington, CEO of Thrive Global, interviewing her, and it was all around being able to basically it just said, what do you need on one form? You just lost your job, you've suddenly no money, and then what can you offer? And that's essentially the gist of it. And now, a year later, they just hit, as of a month ago, $54 million in donated dollars of people essentially adopting other families within our country of America. And this was primarily America. So amazing stories of how a restaurant, overnight, 20 cut staff who had really nice jobs and paychecks and benefits, and families, nothing. And so they filled out the form kind of on a whim, Hail Mary, and got connected with a woman that then got a circle of her friends to each of them adopt a family from this other state, and literally supported these families, sending them money just out of the kindness of their heart every week to a stranger, essentially, even though now they talk every week. There's another story about a Broadway actor that suddenly done, right? And had nothing, no backup, filled out the form, pandemicoflove.org, I believe. We can Google Pandemic of Love and it'll come up. Someone adopted him. They speak every week, has been just supporting until they get back on their feet. And there's been funerals that have been paid for unexpectedly. people across the divide of different politics, like not realizing that they were different sides, but having been supported and become friends. You know, I never thought I'd support that other side, but they are, and they're friends. Anyway, so healing, so harmonizing. Shelley's story is amazing. Her book is coming out as well. I'll see if I can remember, put the link below. And she was partnered with this other amazing man, Justin. I ended up signing up for their Liberation Experience course, which is an experiential way to look at racism personally and then as the collective and what we can do about it versus just talk about it, but actually be the transformation, both from an inner level, but then an outer as well. So that's been very, I've had racism conversations since then, since the conference, having signed up for their course on, I just have never had an opportunity to share because I'm not around. We just don't talk about it. Like, I don't talk about it. I suppress it. That's what I'm working on, is like naming it, seeing it, saying something if I see it. And had the opportunity with people that are so open, and it's been a safe space in their Liberation Experience course, of having these hard conversations that are transformative. So great. I got to actually voice what I think about racism, about what a woman had said that was kind of derogatory. She didn't realize it, but say in such a gentle way, she received it. She's like, thank you so much. I was like, thank you so much. And it gave me so much hope. And Justin's goal is to end racism in this lifetime. And I didn't believe it, but after seeing his story of how he's mixed, but his dad's black, his mom's white and European, and she got disowned for marrying a black man, and then literally, slowly, over decade by decade, they all reunited after being completely apart. Like, they didn't attend her, wedding because she was marrying a black man. But now they're all reunited. So he's like, I know it can happen in my family, then it can happen anywhere. And I actually am starting to believe that too. So I'm standing for that. Anyway, so Shelley and Justin, that was another set of speakers. And then I already shared about Pete Doctor, and I already shared about Ariana. And yeah, it was just, I'm not going to go through each person, but it was glorious. I highly recommend it. I will put the links as well for, they have a little mini event of Wisdom 2.0. So the overall conference each year of Wisdom 2.0 happens, and then they have mini things, and there's one actually coming up. Actually, it'll just have passed by the time this gets out. Anyway, you can check out their site and see more awesome events coming. Thank you for listening if you made it this far, and that is what I have for you from the Wisdom 2.0 Conference 2021. All right, bye.